Coming up on Wavelength, a study of LCRA job classifications and pay. Could this become a future source of fuel for an LCRA power plant? And LCRA employees help make this a special Christmas for some area children. Those stories and more next on Wavelength.
From the Lower Colorado River Authority, this is Wavelength.
Hi everybody and welcome to Wavelength. Well, as you probably know by now, a study will be done over the next 9 months to completely reevaluate all of LCRA's job classifications and pay, to determine whether or not our jobs are properly classified, to expose any pay inequities, and to determine if the pay level of our jobs compared to the market is too high, too low, or where it should be. The comprehensive study has been recommended by John Mullen, a job compensation consultant who did a complete evaluation of LCRA's current pay and classification system.
Probably one of the most major findings we found was that LCRA really doesn't have a standardized objective approach to establishing the internal relationships between jobs. While the organization has had systems in the past, those systems currently aren't in use for a variety of reasons. So today, one of the biggest challenges the organization faces is trying to come up with a standardized approach to collecting job content information, sizing the jobs so that you can assign them to the appropriate salary grades.
Mullen's recommendation is that LCRA do a complete reevaluation of all jobs within the agency. Mullen's recommendation is that we do an extensive look at all of our job classifications and pay. Employees may be wondering, isn't this what we have done and have been doing?
Clearly, in the last several years, we've talked a lot and looked a lot at our job classification system, but we've done it in a piecemeal basis. First, we just looked at P&M and went through that long job evaluation task force, and then we were going to march off and do craft and field. And what I've done is just call a halt to all of that and said, basically, we're going to look at this one time, across the board, and do it right.
This upcoming study, then, should provide a blueprint once and for all to ensure pay equity between employees with similar duties. It will also be looking at job titles and the pay assigned to each job here at LCRA to determine if that pay is at the proper level compared to the market. When the study is done, it appears that there may be an indication that some people are paid too much when they look at all the pay scales. What is your thinking should that situation arise?
Anytime you do a job evaluation, you're going to find employees that are high in their categories, and we're going to have employees that are low in their categories. We're not going to make any promises to move people up all the way and make them whole, and likewise, we're not going to lower people's salaries. I'm never going to punish an employee because management didn't do their job and get them in the right classification. So an employee in that situation may find that they're at the top of their grade, and they may face somewhat of a freeze issue, but they're not going to have their salary lowered.
Employees can expect to see the results of the new study, along with a game plan for any necessary changes before next year's focal point reviews in October.
We've all heard stories about the rising cost of operating landfills and the fact that we're rapidly running out of space for them. It's estimated that in the 10-county LCRA district, there are 1,500 tons of trash produced every day. LCRA is now looking into the possibility of taking this solid waste and using it in a new and very positive way.
This bag contains processed trash which was once destined for a landfill like this one. It's called refuse-derived fuel, or RDF, and it can be burned as fuel in a power plant. Now, surprisingly, this bag has about the same BTU content as Powell Bend lignite.
At the December board meeting, LCRA directors approved a plan to hire an engineering firm to study the feasibility of burning RDF along with Western coal and lignite in Unit 3 at the Fayette Power Project.
What we're looking into is called refuse-derived fuel, and what we're actually doing is using a separation process. We're taking out the non-combustible portion of the waste stream, the car batteries, the glass bottles, the metals, aluminum, things that does not make sense to burn or have extremely low BTU values, and then taking the higher portion or the higher combustible portion of the waste stream, such as your papers and your cardboards, that type thing, and burning that.
Separation plants like this one in South Dakota could be built here in Central Texas to process solid waste from the entire region. However, LCRA would not be involved in the trash separation business at all. This would be done by private businesses. The metal and glass is recycled, and approximately half of the total waste stream would then become refuse-derived fuel, which can be transported to the power plant and burned in the boiler. Matoka estimates that the solid waste from the entire district could produce about 10 to 15% of the fuel required by Unit 3. This feasibility study is being done by National Ecology and Babcock and Wilcox of Houston. It will be completed by June 1991. The results of the study will then be presented to the Board of Directors, who will decide whether or not LCRA will burn refuse-derived fuel at FPP.
The LCRA Board of Directors elected their new officers for 1991 at the December meeting. Raymond Barker of Kerrville was elected chairman. Barker was appointed to the board in 1987 and says as chairman he will continue efforts to clean up the Colorado River. The new chairman also says the agency is in top form right now and praised the efforts of LCRA employees.
Well, I think we have one of the best organizations that I've ever been associated with, and the leadership is in top form now, and I think everybody has something to contribute.
The board also elected Rita Radley of El Campo vice chairman and Judge Jack Miller of San Saba as secretary.
On December 6th, the Austin City Council voted to take major steps towards improving the quality of water in the Colorado River. The council agreed to continue high standards for their wastewater treatment plants and agreed to work with LCRA on several new environmental initiatives. Many elected officials from downriver attended the council meeting to lend their support to the idea of higher treatment levels. At the December board meeting, 5 outgoing county judges were recognized by the board for their support of LCRA water and environmental efforts and other LCRA programs.
Many people out there, I think of Lower Colorado River Authority as providing electricity, and that's perhaps where their knowledge stops, how wrong they are. You do so much more. You do provide us electricity, and we appreciate that. But you do what needs to be done for the environment of Texas.
You know, at one time, LCRA was cause for fighting and ugliness and all sorts of nasty things. But LCRA has certainly changed that around. We're proud to have LCRA in our county. We have a great deal of respect for what you've done, and you've established a good, strong, reliable reputation there.
A drilling platform on an oil rig, a sight familiar to most Texans. The unusual thing about this rig is that it is drilling into land leased by LCRA. This is the Hilbig Field in Bastrop County. First drilled in the 1930s, it has been producing oil ever since. LCRA became involved with the Hilbig site this past summer with the idea of using the underground formation to store natural gas for use in LCRA's gas-fired power plants. Phase 1 of the project consists of drilling 3 wells which can be used to extract oil and also to inject natural gas into the formation.
We've got some of our own crews here building foundations for this equipment we've got in. They'll be building the pipe racks, piping to connect it all together. We've got a compressor that'll be here after the first of the year to compress the gas. We'll be testing in this winter and in the early spring. And this will determine what we need for the phase 2. We'll do that next summer, be ready to store gas next fall for use the winter of 91, 92.
Another reason this site was picked as a storage reservoir is its proximity to a natural gas pipeline.
We're over a Valero pipeline, the pipeline that feeds gas to the Gideon plant. It also connects in with the line at Kyle that feeds the Ferguson plant. So we can put gas in the Valero line here. They'll transport it for us just as same as we do electricity for other utilities. and transport it both to Gideon and to Ferguson.
Yo says the gas storage capacity of the Hilbig field could be as much as 6 billion cubic feet.
No, this is not a Longhorn Pep Squad. It's a safety meeting being held at the LCRA Service Center. The difference on this morning is they are playing Safety Jeopardy. The questions are taken from the LCRA Safety Manual, and contestants and the audience are playing for real prizes.
We're testing the employee to see how well they know what's in the safety manual, and we're also testing ourselves in the safety department to see where we may be lacking in training. They seem to really like it. We get a lot of attention. The attention level is real high when we're doing something like this. They enjoy it. It's a change of pace from the normal safety meeting format.
Nutt says they hope to expand the format to all areas of the agency, and plans call for a Safety Jeopardy tournament to be held in the near future.
The Walmart in LaGrange opened its doors early on this foggy December morning for a very special group of shoppers. These volunteers from the Fayette Power Project, along with Walmart staffers, are Christmas shopping for some local children. It's all part of the second annual FPP Toys for Tots campaign. Funds for the drive came mainly from a pancake supper put on by volunteers at the local McDonald's restaurant. Walmart donated $250 and now is matching dollar for dollar all contributions made to the fund.
We try to help sell with the ticket sales, and then we had some people who volunteered to help go and flap the jacks at McDonald's, and then we get a lot of help throughout the store. And this is good for the store because it brings up the morale in the store, and it helps the associates kind of get involved in the community, and I think that they really enjoy that.
Joe Caridi helped organize the drive and says participation at the plant and in the community has been tremendous. He says for him it really brings out the true meaning of Christmas.
The parents that picked up the toys, they had already told their children that they weren't going to be able to afford any Christmas this year. And she told me that they took the toys that we gave them and they just stuck them under the tree like Santa had brought them. And I know that Christmas morning after hearing that story, I thought a little bit about that a whole bunch of kids were opening up toys that through everybody out at the plant's hard work, we were able to provide them.
The total at the checkout line came to over $1,400. The toys were then boxed up and taken to the plant for wrapping. They were distributed to about 290 children by several community-based organizations in LaGrange, Smithville, Columbus, and Giddings.
Well, I have a little boy at home, and I know how special it is for him to receive toys. So I just want to give toys to all those little boys and girls who can't, or their parents can't afford to give them toys. I want them to have a special Christmas too. So Merry Christmas.
Old Man Winter came in with a vengeance this month, sending temperatures well below freezing over most of central Texas. But despite the frigid weather, LCRA's electrical generating system held up like a charm, and there were no major problems with either the generation or the transmission system. The peak demand for power during the cold snap was 1,756 megawatts, which came on December 23rd. Oddly enough, it was exactly 1 year earlier to the day that LCRA generated an all-time record of 1,959 megawatts.
'90's been a good year for LCRA. Our power plants have performed well. In fact, they performed better than the national average. We've come a long way in settling some serious differences with our customers in the rate case that's about to be wrapped up. And we've made tremendous progress on the water quality side through our Clean Colorado project and other environmental programs. We finished the year $10 million under budget. These victories are not victories earned by me or the board of directors. They're earned by you, our employees. Perhaps the thing I'm most proud of is the feeling that I have that we're beginning to pull together better and work together better as a team. I saw a tremendous example of this on the last day of the year as I watched our service center crews, substation crews, work late through New Year's Eve and into the new year to help clean up a mess created by vandals out at the Georgetown substation. Their efforts are but one example of what I think is the greatest source of strength at LCRA, and that's the pride that we take in the job that we do. Let's take a few minutes and look back at the highlights of 1990.
1990 will be remembered as a year when LCRA made progress in strengthening its relationship with its wholesale electric customers. LCRA's customers worked out the details for the proposed rate hike through committees that they formed who worked with LCRA staff. That process also solved a long-time lingering problem by producing an agreement to repay those customers who have built transmission facilities that benefit the entire LCRA system. And speaking of the rate case, what a job done by corporate services and electric operations in managing the rate case and testimony and the more than 2,400 requests for information from interveners. Other efforts with our customers in 1990 included the first ever public open houses on proposed transmission lines in Fredericksburg and Kerrville, customer workshops to answer questions on various issues, and a series of get-acquainted evenings between our board and customer groups. LCRA power plants had a great 1990, outperforming the national average in both the amount of electricity produced per unit of fuel and in limiting the amount of time our plants were down. LCRA's reliable transmission system, low fuel cost, and aggressive efforts by our system operators resulted in additional electric sales to neighboring utilities that netted LCRA about $2 million during 1990. We also revamped our energy conservation programs and will eventually weatherize hundreds of homes throughout our service area each year. Our efforts to protect the Colorado River also gained new ground during 1990. The City of Austin agreed to apply for permit standards for their wastewater treatment plants that will be higher than those met by any other major city in Texas. The city also agreed to develop joint water quality monitoring and public education programs with LCRA. And LCRA and the city have already worked together jointly on a number of environmental projects. 1990, of course, marked changes in leadership at LCRA. In August, Mark Rose was named LCRA's 7th general manager, the youngest ever for the agency. Jim Garrison resigned from the board to take a federal banking job, and his vacancy was filled by Mike Luxinger to represent Burnett County. Dudley Pylan was named manager of the Fayette Power Project, and Jim Steele was hired as the new director of Information Services. LCRA finalized plans on a regional wastewater treatment plant in Bastrop County to be built at Camp Swift. We began installing a measurement system in the rice fields that will help farmers do a better job of reducing their water use. And we developed a drought management plan for the Colorado, the first for any major river in the state. We also teamed up with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department in an agreement that will produce a new state park at Lake Bastrop, as well as a new Parks and Wildlife training facility on adjacent property.
That right there? This will be all right. Okay, there's something.
And we helped the Colorado River Watch Network begin its 3rd year by training volunteers, supplying the equipment needed for the testing, and soon by expanding the program to all 10 of the counties in our statutory district. This will be the largest citizen-based monitoring program in the state of Texas. Weather-wise, 1990 finally brought sufficient rains to end a 3-year drought and refill the Highland Lakes. It also had LCRA crews and 75 tons of LCRA equipment working with other utility groups to restore the power system in the Virgin Islands after Hurricane Hugo. The Tom Miller Dam turned 50 years old, and we threw a celebration that attracted 12,000 people. So successful was the event, it may become an annual affair.
Without a doubt, the best power plant.
And the Sim Gideon Power Plant had a birthday of its own, turning 25 in 1990. And there were other accomplishments. The budget process was streamlined, and partially because of higher earnings on LCRA investments managed by the Finance Department, LCRA finished the year $10 million under budget. The focal review process was implemented so that performance reviews agency-wide could all be done at the same time each year, and LCRA instituted a no-smoking policy. Our boating safety campaign resulted in a reduction in both boating accidents and deaths, and LCRA teamed with KVUE-TV to publish a first-ever boating guide for Lake Travis. Finally, LCRA employees donated their time to numerous worthwhile efforts, as well as a total of $31,000 to 50 different charities. And let us not forget those who work behind the scenes to support our many different programs here at LCRA, from accounting to purchasing to transportation. Congratulations for a great 1990.
As you can see, 1990 has been a good year for LCRA. I'd like to take a minute now to talk about what I think the future holds. As I go around the company, one of the things that I hear most often is that you would like a better sense of direction, a better understanding of where I think the company is headed in the future. In response to that, senior management and the board of directors has recently gone through an exercise of writing down our specific goals for 1991 through 95. A copy of these goals will be distributed to each of you in the coming month. There's a long list of goals. They're all important, and they challenge us tremendously. I would like to highlight 5 of those goals which I think are important. After 4 years of rate increases, it's obvious that we cannot increase rates again for the next 4 to 5 years. That leads us to our second goal, which is continuing our aggressive work program in power production, land resources, water resources, corporate services, and environmental quality, without the comfort and cushion of additional rate increases. Third, we have to take care of business at home. Compensation, team building, project management, eliminating the paperwork hassles in each of our jobs are all things that you bring to my attention at my employee meetings. They're top on our list to get resolved and make progress in the coming year. Letting people know who we are and what we are is still an important job for us. We have to remember that our customers really do come first and that we really are a public service company. As a public service company, we take power like any other utility in Texas and sell it on a competitive basis. But we take our profits and our income and we do good things with it. Those good things are the work that we do in corporate services, natural resources, water resources, protecting the environment, cleaning up the Colorado River. Many things which some employees in the past have questioned as part of our original mission. Now I think we all see they are part of what our public expects us to do as LCRA. And that brings me to the last goal. First and foremost, we must continue our efforts to become one company. Not a power company, not a water company, not an environmental quality company, not an irrigation district company, but one LCRA. One company with a shared set of goals, with a shared pride in the work that we do. That is the power of LCRA. That's the power to make a difference.
Well, that's it for this edition of Wavelength. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time and hope that 1991 will be a good year for all of us.